Zaporizhia, Ukraine. Be a part of our network. Visit us at CBS News Radio on Facebook. This is CNET, and here are the stories that matter right now.
Virtual reality is one of those interesting technologies where it has a lot of promise, and we're still trying to figure all of that out. A startup called Hero is actually trying to use VR technology to help bring an eye exam to your home. There are actually little cameras inside of the headset that Hero uses to be able to identify where your eyes are moving and understand how they are changing as you respond to the exam. Perhaps sometime in the not too distant future, we'll be able to bring the eye doctor to our headsets at home.
Stay up to date with the latest by visiting CNET.com. CBS News Radio and CBSNewsRadio.com.
I'm Gail King. After a 2-year investigation, journalist Jake Tapper is out with a new article about a possible case of wrongful conviction. This is not justice. The story of C.J. Rice is a November cover story for The Atlantic. Charles Rice, known as C.J., was convicted as a teenager of attempted murder and sentenced to 30 to 60 years in prison. Tapper's father, Dr. Ted Tapper, was Rice's pediatrician at the time, and he believes that Rice could not physically have even carried out this crime. The father and son will join us very shortly, but first, let's take a look at CJ's case and Tapper's reporting on it.
Welcome back to State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper.
CNN anchor Jake Tapper has spent his career covering the world's biggest stories.
So Mississippi is one of the states that has a trigger law.
Now Tapper is taking on a more personal story, one set in his native Philadelphia. It involves a patient of his father's, pediatrician Ted Tapper. This is a case of C.J. Rice, who's been locked up for more than a decade for a crime Dr. Tapper believes he did not commit. In an Atlantic article that came out today, Tapper outlines Rice's case. At 17 years old, back in 2011, Rice was shot while riding a bike in Philadelphia. Rice believes it was a result of mistaken identity. Rice went to Dr. Tapper for follow-up care in September 2011. He had received more than 24 staples, fractured his pelvis, and lost muscle strength. Dr. Tapper says Rice could barely walk and was in a lot of pain. Less than a week later, the teenager was arrested for a shooting in South Philadelphia that injured 4 people, including a 6-year-old girl. Rice and a friend were charged in what police saw as a possible retaliation crime. They were both tried. Rice's friend was acquitted, but he was convicted of attempted murder. According to Tapper's reporting in The Atlantic, there was never any physical evidence connecting Rice to the crime. Eyewitness testimony was questionable at best, and there were serious issues with his legal representation. Dr. Tapper has also raised questions about Rice's physical ability to carry out the shooting and flee the scene while still recovering from his injuries. All of this has caused the Tappers to look into the case, and now they're speaking out. The former prosecutor on the case declined to comment, and Rice's original defense attorney, she died back in 2019. Now, some people might see parallels between this case and the story that we told you about Adnan Syed. CNN anchor Jake Tapper and his father, first time her father, son, I like it, Dr. Ted Tapper, join us both at the table. Welcome to you both. First guys, Jake, kudos to the article in The Atlantic. It's very long, but it's such a good read. And I found just jaw-dropping after jaw-dropping moment after one after another. You say that it's not up for, you want readers to decide about this case, but you said what happened after the case is not open for argument. What do you mean by that?
Well, my dad and I have our opinions about whether or not CJ could have physically done this, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the idea that he had legal representation worthy of the name, there's no dispute about that. He did not. His lawyer was incompetent. His lawyer failed to visit the crime scene. His lawyer failed to bring up basic facts about the case in trial, such as the fact that the only evidence against CJ was this one witness, this one victim of the shooting, who the night before, several times she said had no idea who shot her, no idea. Then overnight, the police say they got a confidential informant tip. Those detectives investigating the case go to see her with a photo lineup. All of a sudden, she says it's CJ who did it. That's weak. I mean, for that to be the only testimony against him, that's weak. And nobody, and no police force would charge any of us if that was the only evidence against. But here's a poor kid with an incompetent attorney who didn't even know to bring that up.
A poor black kid.
Poor black kid.
Story, unfortunately,
Absolutely.
we've heard many, many times. And Dr. Tapper, you say physically. Can you just show us briefly how he was walking? Why you're convinced that there's no way he could have done this because why?
CJ was 17 at the time.
17 at the time.
He was a strong, healthy 17-year-old from South Philly.
Yeah.
And when I saw him in my office about 5 days before the event,
Yeah.
he had a lot of pain getting from a sitting chair up to the exam table. And when the exam was done, the same thing in reverse, getting off the exam table, back to the chair. And when he left our
Now
exam...
there's an edge there. I don't want you to fall
don't
off
hurt
that.
yourself.
Yeah. But I just want to show how
When he
badly
left
he fallen.
the exam, he was walking like this.
He was shot up. He had more than 30 staples in his torso and a fractured pelvis.
This is a healthy 17-year-old, and that's how he was walking.
And witnesses say the shooters ran off,
Sprinting away.
sprinting away. So physically,
So Rice is now serving 30 to 60 years for attempted murder. The Philadelphia DA's office has a conviction integrity unit. We reached out to them for a statement, and they told us in part that they're not reviewing the case at this time, not because the conviction was sound, they say, but a determination at this time that there is insufficient legal and factual basis to warrant the Commonwealth intervening to vacate the conviction. So they're not saying it was all good, they're saying we just don't have enough yet to go and argue it. Why wasn't the shuffling and the pelvis injury and the inability of him to sprint away more central to the defense?
There's probably two reasons for that. One is some of the evidence that we now know wasn't people were aware of at the time in 2011 when this event occurred in 2013, almost a year and a half later when the trial finally occurred.
Because she hadn't requested the medical record in the hospital.
Right. Unbeknownst to everybody at the time, she was going through bankruptcy proceedings, taking on too many cases, not prioritizing this one. Is that the theory?
She didn't even get the medical records that showed that CJ had a fractured pelvis.
Right. Sprint if you have a fracture.
So guys, why is he still in jail today? This is what just made my blood boil, guys. Why is he still in jail today?
That's the way the legal system operates.
It protects itself, right? And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The way to, in Pennsylvania, to appeal the case, to say, the first step, it's called PCRA, to appeal it and say this wasn't a fair case, you go to the judge that presided over the case.
Yeah.
How many judges are going to say, yeah, you're right, I did a really crappy job?
Yeah.
And then the system protects itself. It goes to the next case, the next level, the Supreme Court. Judges protect judges. Right now, honestly, it's in the hands of Larry Krasner, the DA, who has this conviction integrity unit, although he really only takes on cases where there is foolproof evidence that this was a wrongful conviction, not, look, we don't think he could have done it, and he had a horrible lawyer. Or it's up to the governor of Pennsylvania or the people on the parole board, which include Fetterman and Shapiro.
and Jake, you talk about this flawed system and the empty promise of the Sixth Amendment.
Yeah, right to legal counsel.
What needs to be done? I know it's a very important question.
Yeah.
What needs to be done?
We have a system that, again, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
We have a two-tiered system of justice where people like us